Right, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone and to our panelists here. Today I will be your moderator. I am Amira Shahidah, and the topic that we'll be discussing today is food labeling, what the consumers should know. So today we do not only invite Miss Amalina, our consumer. Alright, so we do invite a few panelists such as Miss Liu as a food technologist, Miss Yap, a representative from the government, and also Miss Kok, a food labeling specialist from Treehouse Food that focus on the custom brands. Alright, so when it comes to food labeling, what do you think of it? Do you relate it to information such as serving size, the nutrition facts, and also the ingredients when you buy your everyday grocery shopping, right? So generally a food label is a panel that we can find on the side of our package that contain varieties of information for our everyday life. So I'm intrigued to ask Ms. Amalina, as a consumer, do you even look at the food label when you buy your grocery shopping? Do you understand? Can you interpret those informations? Can you tell us?
Okay, morning everyone. Okay, first of all, thanks Miss Moderator for inviting me today. Okay, in my opinion as a consumer, the first thing that I will pay attention to when I purchasing a food product is nutrition facts label. So as I am a consumer that prefer for food that are good for my health, it is very important for me to understand nutrition facts label so that I can make a choice for the food that are healthy for me. Okay, I always look at nutrition facts label. So that I can make a comparison between the two products. Which one is better for me? Which one is high in or low in fat content, salt, sugar, or other food additive based on a serving size in order to maintain my healthy lifestyle.
Right, so generally we, especially the girls, right, we used to tend to look at the fat content to run our diet, right? So, okay, I would like to ask the food technologist, Miss Liu, what do you think of Miss Amalina's opinion? Can you give us a piece of your thought?
Thank you, Miss Moderator. Actually, I agree with Miss Amalina. Nutrition facts label is very important to choose a product that is suitable for us. As for the serving size, it is usually mentioned under the same section of the nutrition label. So, by referring to the serving size, the consumer can know how many nutrients are provided in one serving of the food. Also, the fat calories will also mention in the food label, so consumer can know how many calories from the fat are there in the food. As for the percent daily value, it will tell the consumer about how the nutrients in one serving size of the food contribute to the total daily diet. Other than that, the consumer also might understand that all the ingredients in the food are listed in the decreasing order according to their proportions. This means that the top three ingredients in the ingredient list are what we are primarily eating. So, consumer can use the technique to choose the product that is high in the nutrients that they should get more of, or low in the nutrients that they should get less of.
Alright, so based on what you said, generally the ingredients are listed according to the proportions from the highest to the lowest, right? So, Ms. Yap from the government, in Malaysia, is there any regulations or law that the food manufacturers must follow in order for us to standardize this food label? Can you explain?
Okay, yes, of course. First of all, thank you, Miss Moderator. So, what Miss Liu said just now was totally true. And the ingredients shall be listed in a descending order of proportion by weight. Actually, we can find this regulation in the Malaysia Food Act and Regulation, in Regulation Part 4. And every food manufacturer in Malaysia shall comply to this rule. Besides this, the consumer nowadays, right, they tend to avoid the additives. They think that the additive is not natural and they should avoid it. However, even some of the food contain only a few amount of additive, they still needed to list them out in a statement at the ingredient list. That in the statement stated that contains permitted followed by type of the additives, which for example we have flavoring, coloring, or acidity regulator. So the consumer can always refer to this information to know more about what they actually ate.
Alright, so from the ingredients itself, we can know the what was added to our food and also the amount of it. So, understanding this few information is actually insufficient. We nowadays we also have some issues like of the food label, right? The food manufacturers tend to mislead or misdirect the consumers in order to think that their product is actually way healthier than they actually are. So, can you explain to us a little bit? Can anyone explain to us a little bit about this?
Yes, I would like to talk about some example of tricks to everyone. According to the food regulation, and food ingredient can be mentioned on a food label if it is present in a food, although it is in a small amount. Due to these reasons, some food companies often pep their food labels with the healthy ingredients such as berries, superfood, or herbs, but it only exists in a very minuscule amount. So, the consumer should not be fooled by the healthy ingredients that appear very far down the ingredient list. And then, for example, some company may use goji berries towards the end of the ingredient list as their marketing gimmick when the actual amount is very small. And besides that, some company also use the words like immunity blend or support the immunity system for the food product containing vitamins and minerals. But do you know that sometimes such words are used to fool or misdirect the consumer to think that it is a healthy product? So this kind of trick that used by the food manufacturer is called label padding and is commonly used by the junk food manufacturer who want to jump on the healthy food bandwagon without actually producing healthy foods.
Excuse me, I would like to add some point to the trick part. Besides the trick as mentioned by Ms. Court just now, some manufacturer can also be tricky with the serving size. As we all know, the nutrition information is normally based on per serving size and also per 100 gram. But normally, the consumer will ignore the 100 gram and just pay attention to the per serving size because they think that the serving size is the amount they actually consume. So in order to make the food low in calories or fat, the food manufacturers will tend to list the nutrition information based on the very small and also sometimes even unrealistic serving size. So the consumer should always be careful before they purchase a product and think wisely. And they also need to watch out for the deceptively small serving size because the manufacturer can always use this small serving size to list the calories, the fats and sugar in a very low amount, which the consumer thinks will be very healthy. And besides, in fact, some serving size stated by the food manufacturer on the product labeling is actually arbitrary and there is no basis in reality. And so the consumer shall always think that the serving size is always based on only one serving. However, there's also some food they may contain few serving size in the packet. For example, this food is pizzas and also ice creams. So I think that the consumer shall be careful when purchase these type of products.
Right, so we should always be on the lookout about label padding. Alright, so I would like to ask Ms. Amalina, as a consumer, have you ever experienced this kind of misleading tricks? Have you ever get cheated by the words or phrases used on the package itself?
Yeah, I got some experience when I went for shopping and I spotted a cookie that claimed the cookie are trans fats free. So that time I was attracted by the claim of trans fat free, so I bought it without hesitations. Once I got back to home, I realized that the cookie manufacturer claimed that one cookie is entire of serving of cookies. So since one cookie contains 0.5 gram of trans fatty acids, 0.5 gram of a trans fatty acid. So it can be claimed as. Yeah. So the food manufacturer tends to claim that entire serving of cookies is trans fat free. So in reality, okay, one package might contain 30 cookies. So if each cookies contains 0.5, so the overall one package is 50 grams of trans fatty acid. Is it right? Okay. Does anyone here just only eat one cookie? Of course, no, right? I'm sure that no one will not only eat one small piece of cookies. Okay. So my advice is, as a consumer, we should have some knowledge about nutrition facts label or nutrition claims, so that we can avoid from being cheated by a food manufacturer.
Well, as you can see, Miss Amalina is a very knowledgeable consumer, since she did a really detailed calculation about her food product, right? Okay, so Miss Liu, as a food technologist, can you explain a little bit further about this issue?
Okay, sure. Other than that, consumer also should be alert that some of the food manufacturers, they tend to distribute the ingredient such as sugar among many other ingredients, so they have to make sure that the sugar will not attain in the top position in the ingredient list. For example, they may use different types of the ingredients such as sucrose, high fructose corn syrup, brown sugar, and many other types of the ingredient, to make sure that none of them are present in the large quantity to attain the top position in the ingredient list. So in this case, the consumer might think that the food they are consuming is very low in sugar, but actually it's not. Okay, beside that, there are also some hiding dangerous ingredients behind the innocent sounding names that will lead the consumer into the thinking that, oh, the food they are consuming is very healthy and natural. What do you all think about yeast extract? It sounds like a very natural and healthy ingredients, but actually it consists of a low amount of the MSG, monosodium glutamate, which is the taste enhancer, without the need to list the MSG in the food label. So the consumer, they do not know what is yeast extract. They might think that the food is free from MSG, but actually it's not.
All right. So, Ms. Amalina, is there any other problems or issues that you would like to tell us about?
When I before I purchasing a food product, I always look at on the labeling. So I always look at expiry dates to make sure that the food is safe for consumptions. So however, I realized that the term of use by and best before are written on the labeling. So what is the difference between use by and best before?
Alright, so sometimes we are confused, right, between these two. We always think that it is the same thing. So anyone can explain to us a little bit?
Yes, I would like to answer Ms. Amalina's questions. For information, best before dates stated in the food labeling are about the quality of the product and not the safety of the product. And when the best before date is passed, it doesn't mean that the food will become harmful, but it might begin to lose its flavor and texture. On the other hand, use by date stated in the food labeling are the most important date to consider, as this date relates to the food safety. My opinion for the consumer is that don't take any food or drinks after the end of the use by date, even if it still looks and smells fine. This is because taking it after the use by date could put your health at risk. Other than the expiry date of the food product, you must also strictly follow the storage instruction on the food label, such as keep in a refrigerator or store in a cold dry place. This is because if you don't follow these instructions, the food will spoil more quickly and you may risk from food poisoning.
Alright, so basically the use by date is for the safety of the food, right? And the best by is for the quality of the food. Alright, so Ms. Yap, is there any more information or tips from the government that you would like to share with us?
Yes, of course. Actually, the product labeling, the labeling on the package contain of many informations that the consumer may not be aware of. For example, we have some logos and some specific wordings, maybe in a very tiny size that the consumer may just miss it. So first of all, I want to share with you the first label, which is the halal logo. It looks like this. So this halal logo only can be applied to food that is halal certified. So for Muslim consumer, they can always refer to this logo before they consume the product. Okay. So next, I would like to tell you about the organic logo. As we know now, organic food is a trend already, right?
Yeah.
So the consumer may want to like to eat organic food more than the other processed food. So the organic food logo will look like this. So if the food manufacturer want this logo to be in their product, they need to comply to Malaysia Organic Standard, which is MS 1529. And if they comply to this standard, they will be certified and approved by Department of Agriculture Malaysia. Then only will have this logo on their product. Followed by that, we also have a irradiated fruit symbol logo, which look like this. Also the green one. However. Yeah, for irradiated food only. However, the irradiated food issue is still not in a concern in Malaysia. It's not still a hot issue. And as for the wording, as I mentioned just now, we have genetically modified food, which made from GMO. For food that contain GMO, need to label with genetically modified, followed by the name of the ingredient at behind. However, for food that made from GMO but does not contain GMO, they need to have a statement written that produced from genetically modified, followed by the name of the ingredients.
Alright, so by the symbols and the logos, we can also find a lot of information about our food, right? So, Miss Yap, is there any way? I'm intrigued. Oh, sorry, I'm intrigued to ask about food allergies. So some of the consumers tend to have one or more allergies, right? So they tend to be careful when they choose the product. So is there a way to know allergies in food, in our food ingredients? Can you explain a bit?
Okay, thank you, Miss Moderator. Actually, the food allergens that present in the food will be mentioned in the food label as required by the Food Act and Regulation in Malaysia. So, consumer, and especially for those that are allergic to certain food product, should pay more attention when they are referring to the food label. So, this is because there may be the very potential serious consequences if they consume the product that they are allergic to. So how do the food manufacturer they identify the presence of the food allergens in the food product? It's actually very easy. So let me take a good example like hamburger. So as we know, hamburger consists of barbecue sauce. So barbecue sauce is the first generation of ingredient. Inside the barbecue sauce, we know that it consists of seasoning, right? So it is the second generation of ingredient. For the seasoning, it is made from the soy. So it is the third generation of ingredient. Since soy is present in hamburger, it must be declared in the food label as the allergens that present in the hamburger. The consumer can use this technique to choose a product that they are not allergic to, so that it is safe for their consumption.
Alright, so other than the allergens, is there any other more that we can try?
Yes, actually, I would like to add some point for the things that might present in the food. Unlike allergen, we also find food may contain some chemical contaminants, pesticide, and also some heavy metals in the food. This substance will will have the direct and substantial health effect on human if we consume this product. Some food may contain like pesticide, solvent, some chemicals such as acrylamides, perfluorooctanoic acid, and also perchlorate. This substance may present in food. This is actually not added as in a food ingredient. Actually, it is a byproduct from the food processing, or also some contaminants that happen during food processing. First of all, I would like to give one example, which is acrylamides. And acrylamides will be formed when the food rich in carbohydrates such as bread, cereal, or potatoes will be cooked, heated, or roasted at temperature above 120 degrees Celsius. And this acrylamide actually found to cause nerve damage in human while accidentally exposed to it at work. However, it will only present in food in a very, very low amount, which will not cause any obvious effect to the human if they consume it. However, it's still a carcinogen, right? And consume above certain limit might also cause health effect to the people. So my advice to consumer, if you really want to avoid these things in food, go for organic food and less processing food.
Alright, so other than the allergens and the chemical contaminants, vegetarians are a really major group that we should be concerned of, that we can focus on. So, Ms. Scott, can you explain how food are designated for vegetarian?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Ms. Moderator. Generally, many food labels will obviously state if there is a vegan ingredient inside a food product. So the consumer should be aware of any verbs or sentences that highlighted in bold within the ingredient list. However, in some cases, we only address the ingredients that are likely to be unfamiliar to the vegetarian. For example, we will not list out the obvious ingredients such as chicken, beef, fish or shellfish to show that the food is a vegetarian food or a non-vegetarian food. Therefore, a vegetarian consumer should avoid foods that contain any of these ingredients such as custard, lactose and buttermilk, as these ingredients indicated that the food is a non-vegetarian food. And then another issue that arises recently is that sometimes animals' products are used in the processing of an ingredient in a food product. For example, apple juice is often filtered with the bone char, which is the animal products, and so are many wines and beers. And the bone char is the bone from cows, which is often used to filter sugar. Since in theory there's no residue left in the product, so we don't have to label it that way. So therefore, when you're in doubt, do ask the company about it. Thank you.
Alright, so after a very fruitful discussion, we have come to an end. Before that, I would like to conclude what we have discussed. It is that from the food label itself, we can find varieties of information such as the nutrition facts, and then the term used best by and used by is a very different thing. And then we can also find about storage instruction, which can extend our shelf life of the product. And also the logos and the halal issues, the allergies, chemical contaminants, and also about the label padding. We should always be careful when it comes to label padding, right? So my advice is we should always be on a lookout, be a wise consumer, stay smart and intelligent because you are what you eat. So that's all for today. Thank you for your attention and Assalamualaikum.